Hey there, it's Twyla. Introductions make me like mad uncomfy. So we're just gonna get right into it. Buckle up, partner. You know, maybe I should start putting a little intro in the notes, but first point of how we present is people are gonna get it wrong. People are gonna get it wrong. You just have to be okay with that. People are gonna get wrong what you're about. They're going to get wrong what you stand for. They're going to get wrong what you've been through, your accomplishments. You know, they're just gonna get it wrong. Maybe not everyone, but you have to be prepared for those people that do get it wrong. The second point is, hey, I didn't do that intentionally. Be prepared. That's the second point. Be prepared because people love it. Literally like 10 out of 10 times. People love it. Just be prepared, show enthusiasm, either for that person or for that job or whatever it is. Because when people don't text me back, it doesn't give me the illusion that they're valuable. It makes me feel like they're not really interested. Like they don't want it that bad, you know? And you just have to let it go. Like, we're in this culture where everyone's telling each other, like, well, if they don't text you back for this long, then you have to wait even longer. And just like, you need to make them feel blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, like if someone doesn't express an interest for you enthusiastically, let it go. We're really overcomplicating that. I don't want to get preachy, but I've just had this realization even in the last year or two. So it was an important one. But beyond that, be prepared in other areas of your life, right? So the people who are worth impressing will appreciate it if you are prepared. They'll appreciate it if you're on time. They'll appreciate it if you take initiative. Literally like 100% of the time, if they're the right people, they will appreciate it. So it's worth doing. Also, be prepared for yourself. Like I put in here the thanks, son. Okay, so spring equinox, right? Look at that. Oh, it hurts. I got burnt yesterday. A couple dates canceled on me today. I was hoping that one of them worked out. No, they both ghosted me. I haven't heard from them since. Like, I asked to do a phone call last night. Like, all right, let's coordinate it. You want to do a phone call? Both of them ghosted me. So that's not to, again, I hate these, don't hate, sorry. I cringe when I see these, sorry, I'm getting nervous. I gotta soothe. But I cringe when I see these serial daters, like the TikTokers. I don't have TikTok, but I watched some like other YouTubers covering that content, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to sound like that. So I'm not like a serial dater. All these dates that I go on, I'm hoping that something comes out of it, like some kind of arrangement, so some kind of relationship, even if it's, you know, whatever. I don't want to get into that in this episode, but yeah, I don't know how we went from that to that. Sunburns, you have to be prepared for yourself. Back on track. Sorry, I'm gonna have to do that, like a 90-degree turn back to what we were talking about. But if you grew up in an abusive environment, another thing, along with, you know, sunscreen, we need that, but dress for the weather. You know, a lot of times I'm underdressed or overdressed in either way. So I don't want to, I'm really trying hard on my brain cells to just do the video. I do have ADHD and autism, whether people want to believe that or not. And doing these videos is actually really, really hard. So we're getting it done though, and I don't want to edit because that's just one more step for my brain. I'm just trying to keep it real, but it's really hard to say these things out loud. So I appreciate it if you're listening. I want to talk about, you know, should I disclose my diagnosis? A lot of people wonder that, whether that's like a physical disability, some kind of mental or neurological difference. Yeah, so should you disclose it? So first point, again, under that is not everyone will believe you. You just have to have that first and foremost in your brain. that not everyone will believe you. That doesn't mean that your whatever it is isn't real. Your pain, like people with chronic pain, no one can see that. You know, neurological conditions, no one can see that. You know, you have to validate yourself, because if you're waiting for other people to validate it before it's real, yikes. Yikes-a-roni. That sounds like mental illness, you know what I'm saying? I say it with love. I do. Come here. We need a hug. Careful of the sunburn. Need a hug up in here. Ooh, that was actually my feet rubbing together. Let's just take a deep breath. I'm like mad nervous right now, but I just want to keep it real. I feel like my little eyes are all puffy. It's like 9 a.m. I actually just woke up, but luckily my little extremities are so cold I can just use them as little ice packs. But yeah, forgive the puffy eyes. Again, big sister, just keeping it real. It's like you came in my room in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I'll give you some advice, but I'm like half awake. You know what I mean? But I need to get this video out. So, mention that in the intro, back on track, skirt. Not everyone will believe you. Also, this one's gonna, okay, this was not planned. I'm sorry that it was coincidentally right after the hug. That was not like a manipulative thing. I hope that this still comes across very genuine. I meant the hug, and separately, I wrote these notes yesterday, and they've kind of, so I honestly don't know what's coming next. We're breaking this down. If I don't follow the notes, okay, back on track. But I just want you to know, you know, with the diagnosis or multiple diagnoses, whatever, that our culture is going to mock you. I'm not gonna say that everyone is mocking you, because that's low-key what I have in the notes, but just, it feels like that to me sometimes. But just be aware that this culture isn't set up to validate that, and we're waiting for radical change, but it's just not here yet, but it is on the way. That's what a lot of people are fighting for, even if they don't say it. You know, people spreading awareness about specifically disability makes room for us in the world. And it looks like a lot of different things. And I just kind of want to make this video to validate you and simultaneously give you these tips, because people take advantage of people that appear weak to them. So I'm trying to make a video of the things that I've learned to kind of be able to operate on their playing field, so to speak, like the things to kind of keep up with the neurotypicals. You know, I've always been really good at masking, but that it's a blessing and a curse. It's a privilege, I will admit that. It's a privilege that not everyone has. And if you don't have that privilege, then you have so much empathy from me, because I know how much more complicated my life would be. You know, I wouldn't be able to be getting help from guys if I couldn't mask really hard, or use alcohol, or whatever it is to just kind of turn my autism off. You know, I'm sure there's people with like chronic pain that can relate, you know, with pills or substances to get the pain down. You know, but you don't want to be a slave, and I don't want to be a slave. And sometimes we're all trying to find the balance between coping and having self-compassion and not wanting to suffer all the time. And I'm sorry to get really heavy like that. Maybe we should get back on track, but I really just want to validate that. If you feel like, I'm not gonna get emotional, but like if you feel like nobody sees, I just want to see you in this moment, because it's valid. That's valid as fuck. It really is. Keep going, please. I don't mean to get all sappy. I wasn't intending on crying in this video. I wasn't intending on crying at 9 a.m. either, but sometimes it be like that, and that's okay. But not everyone's gonna believe you, and a lot of people mock people for being like, oh, they're just like a walking diagnosis. So even just in like a rebellious spirit, you have to resist sometimes. You have to resist disclosing your diagnosis to people that don't give a shit about you. Like coworkers, if you're not hanging out outside of work, I wouldn't disclose it, because it's natural for people in a work setting to want, sorry, I'll just take a moment again. It's natural for people in a work setting to just want to make that time that you all have to be there comfortable. But at the end of the day, they're just trying to get a paycheck, literally. And they're not really your friend. So be careful with who, unless you hang out outside of work, you know, sometimes genuine friendships come out of coworkers, not hating. But just be very careful with who you disclose information to, because a lot of people will be very friendly to your face, because ultimately that makes them more comfortable. It makes them feel more comfortable about themselves, like, oh, they can put people at ease, they can be friendly, blah, blah, blah. But they don't necessarily have good intention. That doesn't equate to good intention. I'm sorry. But you gotta resist sometimes. Resist the urge. You know, you have to tell yourself sometimes, like, I can tell them later. You know, if you're getting to know someone as a friend or maybe a date, maybe you're a few dates in, you might be able to tell them. But on that first date, like, you have to, or that first encounter, or, you know, if you're making small talk with someone, even if it's very pertinent to the conversation, just try to hold back. Try not to, because I promise you, sometimes it will feel good. I had like a 15-20 minute ramble about drones with this guy at the park, because he had one. I was getting a poop bag, and he had his like VR. He was so cool. He was probably like 70-ish. He had like this VR headset thing on, or maybe it's not VR. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not like down with it. But yeah, I didn't want to sneak up on him, is what I'm trying to say. So I was like, hey sir, I'm gonna grab a poop bag real quick, is that okay? And he was landing it, and he's like, oh yeah, well, this is the hardest part right here. And so I hung around for a few seconds, and he started talking to me, and yeah, and I got through that whole conversation, you know, and I went into like crazy detail about even just the mechanics of certain things. We were talking about drones, you know, that bled into the military technology, and I went off. I need my outlets where I can. And autism didn't slip out of my mouth once. You would think it would, right? You would think you would make a joke like, ha ha ha, I'm so autistic for knowing this crazy thing about this, whatever, in extensive detail. But you don't need to blurt it out. And I say that with love. You know, when I first got the diagnosis, I was kind of just like wanting to validate it for myself, and kind of looking to other people to kind of see what they say when I say that I'm autistic. But you don't need to do that, babe. You don't. Validate it for yourself. It's not going to come from them for a while. The world is changing. It's on its way, but it's not there quite yet. You can tell them later, you know, put a pin in it, because a lot of people will take advantage. They will. Having said that, let's flip the script, right? How do you get what you want? Well, the most obvious answer that I've had to learn from YouTube a lot is just like, dress for what you want. You know, I grew up without a mom, at least for like my teen years. No one really gave a shit about me and my family. So I grew up kind of just raising myself from the point that I was 10 on. And when I turned 18, I was in for a rude awakening. And that's where a lot of these tips are coming from. People that I've come across in my adult life. My family didn't tell me any of this. So that's why I'm making a video about it. I don't think I know everything. I don't think I have some profound insight necessarily. I just, you know, dress for what you want. Because I'm sure you've heard the expression, like, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And it's so true. You know, but also be wary of this, because other people will really put it on, like, what do they say? Lay it on thick. That first interaction. So on the, you know, a little part B to that is like, also be careful of other people in those first few interactions, because that is their best, but that's not necessarily who they are. Okay, so next point. I'm trying to pace myself here. It's been so hard. This is low-key like my third attempt at recording this video, but I really want to get this out there. It's just not quite, I'm like so tense in those videos. I'm like, do I have to be just waking up to be very like slow? And because I'm always, I don't know, just kind of over the top. I'm like, dude, chill. We all need to slow them down sometimes, you know? But next point, it's okay to have many hats. You know, you just don't need to show them all the time. So we can all have many hats. It can be painful to not get to show them all. It can't. It's not a bad thing to say that. It feels kind of weird, but like, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes for years at a time, you might not get to show a certain hat. Sometimes at all. Just opening up real quick. This is controversial because unfortunately now in today's day, it's like a political thing. And now I know more about some kind of twisted parts of the government, yada, yada. Don't want to get this video taken down, but I used to want to be in the military. And a recruiter came and talked to me one time. And I remember, and my ears have been stretched like this to at least like an inch since like freshman, sophomore year of high school. So I was like, for anyone in other countries, that's about 14, 15. So they've been stretched a while. So when this recruiter talked to me, I was so pumped. And then I think my hair, I like flipped it out of the way and they saw my ears and they were like, oh, just kidding. Like that whole conversation that we just had, like you can't be in the military. And yeah, like I could get these sewn up, but I don't know if I have what it takes emotionally. I know that the military is really, really hard and it's that way for a reason. And I get that, but oof, that's hard for me to admit. Sorry, it's like a really painful, that's what I'm trying to say is like sometimes we never get to live out certain dreams or get to wear certain hats that we might think that we were made for. You know, like my grandpa's always told me that I should be a sniper because he knows that I really like math and he really likes math, and we both really like firearms in a respectful way, not in like a irresponsible way. Yeah, he's taught me a lot. And I really would love to make him proud, or like we both talk about drones a lot and we watch a lot of drone videos together, like Ukraine and all that. And I would just, and now I've gone after 3 guys that were in the military, and I think it's just because, and not to mention like the sense of community that is also in the military. And yeah, sorry, I didn't even plan to talk about that. Sorry, it just hit me sideways. I don't know why this is so silly. I'm gonna get roasted for this, but it's painful, you know? It's painful to try to figure it out, and it's painful to see other people kind of living your dream and getting the recognition and respect and being able to do something sorry, this is embarrassing, do something very noble and important and be recognized for that. So that's where I was originally, so you can imagine what my image of myself is right now and like the choices that I am making. I don't want to say I'm having to make or whatever because I am in control. But I just wanted to share that real quick because it's very, very personal and it's, oh shoot, very painful. Sorry, it's not bad to cry, but I don't think it's ideal to be crying in a setting such as this. I don't want people to think I'm doing it for the wrong reasons or sympathy. I'm really not interested in sympathy. I've said that so many times. It's just the way my brain's wired. It doesn't do a whole lot. I'm more solution driven, so motivated. But yeah, so sometimes for years at a time, you have to just shut that part of you off, and it hurts, but you have to present for what you want in a lot of times. So you can't have, you know, I can't talk about that stuff, for instance, like on dates, because they're not gonna see me. Like that's me in my masculine. Like we'll get that more into that later. Yeah, I guess we're gonna wrap up the video, but yeah, I'm gonna go through those. And so the last few points, it's gonna get into feminine or masculine traits, but I feel like I've really had to step into my feminine, having said all of that, because I've existed kind of exuding this, I hope I use that right, like masculine energy. and because I've had to the last couple years for survival. And I realized quickly that that's not going to get men taking care of you, such as in my case, needing that. You know, that's not giving damsel in distress energy. You know, I can't talk in hyper detail about cars or firearms or drones on dates because they're not going to see me as someone that needs their help. You see? And that's not like super manipulative. It feels kind of not the best, but the alternative is me making them feel uneasy or threatened because of what I'm talking about or the detail that I'm talking about it. People associate that level of intelligence with independence a lot of times, like, oh, if you're so smart about this, why can't you figure out this? Why can't you hold a job? Why can't you come up with your own income? Like, whatever, but you just have to be ready for that judgment. But yeah, it's important to hold some information back. Like, I'm not saying you have to dumb yourself down. You know, there are some creators on YouTube that do, you know, tell girls to kind of play dumb. I'm not necessarily taking that route, but I don't think that you should necessarily showcase how intelligent you are in certain situations. Like, if you're pursuing that person in a romantic way, like an actual, like, long-term serious relationship way, then yeah, you can come to the table. You know, I have separate relationships like that. They're not all like, you know, I like to have like my one on the side that I'm actually pursuing in a real way so I can feel like a human being. But you have to present for what you want. You know, do not manipulate people, but like have some self-respect, have some class. Like, you have to radiate self-respect because people are so sensitive to that. They can pick up on that. People are so intuitive. So you have to radiate self-respect no matter who you are. Like, I don't know, I've had some interesting things happen where like it'll be the time where like we've been talking for a while and me and that person are gonna like, and it's very heavily, either it's straight up said or it's heavily implied, and I show up to their house and like they're wearing some grungy ass, like some weird, like one time this guy was wearing like man yoga pants, like super tight with like this Goodwill ass looking shirt. Like, no hate to Goodwill, but it's just like all those discarded like advertisement t-shirts like that are just on like the $2.99 rack. He was wearing that with like some like yoga pants, and all the other times before that we had hung out, he was very sharply dressed, like, you know, jeans, button-up shirts, like looking very classy. So I'm like, what happened in there? Like, that was the time, and it was made very clear. This time I think it was explicitly said. This was like months and months and months ago, but like I'm just like, what was going on? You know what I mean? But anywho, we could go about that all day, but just like, come on. Like, people that have self-respect, they dress for it. And you know, I have sensory problems. I would love to be able to wear yoga pants and sweatpants all the time, but sometimes I put on, you know, cargo pants have been like my happy medium. I'm like, I can compromise there. Cargo pants are okay, but jeans, I have a really hard time. But you still have to like make yourself look presentable, and that's something that I've kind of had to learn the hard way, you know? And like, I wish someone would have told me like, hey, you kind of look like a bomb. It's like, I'm trying to tell you, like, with love, to get what you want, you have to dress with self-respect. You know what I mean? Along those lines of, yeah, just kind of feeling out people based on their level of self-respect, let them talk. You know, we learned that from Biden. Just let them talk. Like, usually people will let you know their intentions, or they'll let you know kind of what they're about, and people will like you a lot more if you're engaged and open up conversation for them to talk about themselves. That does sound kind of manipulative, but it's just the game that they play. I'm not telling you to play the game. I'm just telling you the rules. Like, that's what I watch the neurotypical videos that they all circulate back and forth saying how to get ahead in your career, how to do this. I've gone to like, you know, work meetings for different like pyramid scheme companies where everyone's like, yeah, do this, blah, blah, blah. This is how you conduct yourself. This is how you confidence. You need to make it seem like you're helping the other person. Like, so manipulative, right? You're trying to sell this thing. Don't make it seem like you're gonna sell this thing. Make it seem like you're like, these businessmen are telling us, this whole company, this, like, make it seem like you want to help them. manipulative culture. I live in the West, by the way. I don't know if I even need to say that. But yeah, let them talk. As a neurodivergent, you know, we talk a lot. I'm doing it right now. But as traumatized people or empathetic people, we are always trying to make others feel more comfortable. You know, but other people have said this on YouTube. Quit filling others' void. Like, let them just sit in it. Let them sit in it. They'll start talking. Okay, so the feminine or masculine, then we're gonna wrap up. So this goes back to different hats, right? So what am I dressing for today? What am I dressing for this week? Be open to criticism. I've been trying to be more in my feminine, and so I've been experimenting with like floral prints. Okay, I have a floral print blouse. It's really nice. It's like a black satin floral print, and it has like a little black satin bow right here, a little tie, and it looks very nice, very elegant, I thought, very vintage, I'll admit. It's like black and cream, and I wore it. My roommate was like, "You look like an old lady." And then I went to like some guy's like art gallery opening or whatever a couple days ago, and I was gonna wear these floral I'm looking at them right now, help, these floral pants, and I sent a picture to my best friend, and he said that I looked like an old Asian lady. So I'm obviously not doing like the female like presentation the best. We're gonna step away from the floral prints. Maybe that's a little try hard, but yeah, I've been existing in my masculine for like a couple years, and I'm tired, and I need to start. But that's what I'm saying, I don't even know where to start. You know, like I've painted my nails, and I try to like wear jewelry, and I'm like, look, I'm a girl. I try to, you know, have my hair done and like, you know, do my eyelashes, comb my little eyebrows, but it's rough out here. So feminine or masculine? You know, what am I going for today? Be open to criticism. That's why I said that about the dang old lady shirts. But also, not to get too deep, but like be aware of the dark side of men and humans in general. So I have a little story. So like I have this little pink lace like bralette, and I wore this like white little tank top with pink flowers, a little pink rosebud type floral print. Very low key, but like very feminine, I thought. And yeah, someone that I had been intimate with, like I wore that outfit around them, and they joked. Like, me and this person, very comfortable, they're a good person, but they just joked, like, ha ha ha, that pink, like it just makes you so innocent, or it makes you look so innocent. And they said that I love pink on you. I put it in here so I don't get it wrong. They said, I love pink on you. It gives you an essence of purity that I'd like to destroy. So I just want to leave that there. Like, again, this is like an otherwise good person. Like, I've known them for a while now, and I'm just never gonna get that out of my brain. So just be very careful with how you dress in public. You know, you can dress kind of slutty when it's like you and the girls going out, or maybe it's just a night at home, you want to like take some pictures. That's fine. But if you're like walking to the grocery store alone, you can think that that's going to give you confidence to like do that, but people have a very predatory nature. I'm sorry. Not to say everyone's like that. We're not going to live in fear, but we need to acknowledge that people like that exist out there. I'm not saying that you have to go balls deep in true crime like I do. I don't know why. I got that sticky brain, dude. It just like, I want to know everything. I watch all the family interrogations and like all of, you know, when they interview the family members of the case, they interview people that person went to school with. Like, I want all the juicy details, and I go so deep. But you don't have to do that. I'm not trying to say everyone's like that, but anywho, just have to be very careful. Be very aware of the dark side of human beings in general, because you don't know where those people that represent the more shadow side of humanity, you don't know where those people are lurking, you know, so be very careful how you dress. But yeah, so blah blah blah, I'm gonna try to wrap it up here. But yeah, like if I'm on a date, for instance, so for example, like I'll talk more about books that I've read, or art, poetry, etc. I'll let them talk. I'll ask about them, because like the nature of the dating that I'm doing right now is like more for their ego. So like you're trying to, you know, I have to be careful because I don't want someone to like face search me on the whole internet and then come across my podcast and like hurt me, you know, for like spilling all the beans on the sugar daddies. But like, for instance, like firearms make them uncomfortable. Like some people, you have to be very aware. Like I'm talking about, yeah, like books, art, and poetry. I can't even mention firearms like in a string of things. Like on one date, I was talking about just how I love the mechanics of things. You know, if somebody asks what you're interested in, a lot of my stuff is like mechanical, you know, cars, not necessarily expensive cars. Like I'm not necessarily, you know, when you think of like a car guy, they're like into like Supras, R34s, like all that stuff. But I'm not necessarily into that. I'm into like the actual mechanics. Like I love working on my own car. I love seeing how things work. I love the little I love that with headphones on because that thing's super loud. I don't know why I just did that. Did I just ruin this video? Who knows? But yeah, but anywho, so I threw that into a string, for example. I was like, yeah, I just love things that are mechanical. Like I love, you know, the mechanics of cars. I love the mechanics of, you know, like robotics, firearms, this, that, the other, just like in a string. And this person, like I was in the middle of eating like the dessert and they were like gathering their stuff and I was like, I just kind of, and they were like, do you want to go for a walk? And I was like, I'm in the middle of eating my muffin. Like, what do you mean? Like we had just had a nice lunch and I just threw that in. Like I wasn't thinking about it. But it is like the mechanism of a gun, that's like automatics, the fact that there's no electricity involved, like that's amazing. And it's always been to my brain, and that sticky brain, I just want to know everything about it. But I just mentioned it in a small little, not even in detail. And they were like, thank God he still paid me for the date, but like he didn't have to, you know. I would have understood if he didn't after that. That's on me, but I'm living and learning. Like sometimes it doesn't mean that these things are wrong. Like I'm in America, we have the Second Amendment, but like it's you don't have to say it all the time. I could have left that one out, and now I know on the next date I will, you know. So it doesn't mean these things are wrong, but it does make people uncomfy. Like it hurts my autism so badly to hold back certain things that I know everything about, but just do it, bestie, please. Like join my Discord, right? Go off. We have all those, this is not an ad, but we have all those different vent rooms. We have different interest rooms that people of that interest would love to talk to you about it. And that gives you a healthy outlet so you don't have to just like word vomit onto the wrong people. Don't tell your coworker, don't tell your partner this shit that, I mean, you can tell your partner things, but I mean, like, if you need to go off, you have to admit, like, your partner just got off of a 10-hour workday, you know? That's real life. Like, you're gonna put that on them? No, you need a healthy outlet. Go make some pottery in the garage. Call a friend. You know, we need to be grown-ass adults and know where to put our shit. So check out my Discord if you don't have anywhere like that. This is not an ad, again. But you'll thank me later. Just don't put it on them. These people don't care about, like your coworker, dude, don't put this shit on them. Poor people. They need to be paid double for that. I'm just kidding. But anywho, finally, in conclusion, right? Image matters. Arguably, you know, attractive people just know what to fix. Just like these good people know what to fix emotionally, right? It starts with self-awareness. And self-awareness is twin sister, self-compassion, right? You can't have one without the other. If you have self-awareness without self-compassion, it's like you're just a ball of anxiety. You're probably watching this video right now. With love, with love, with love. One more hug. Careful of the sunburn. I really, call me Delulu, but I do think of this as like my friends and family. Screw anyone who doesn't, like, okay, this isn't your place, go somewhere else. But this is for a sense of community, and I will hold that. I'm not going to ask for help anymore. I'm not gonna boo-hoo, genuinely. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. Just boop, next chapter. That wasn't super cute, but we're just gonna move on, because I do think that vulnerability does show strength. So I'm gonna keep all that stuff up, see where I came from, and see where I'm going. But yeah, so people just kind of like know what to fix. But it starts with self-awareness, and it's twin sister self-compassion. And okay, so that was the, sorry, yeah, that's what I was doing with that. My bad. It's It's getting kind of woohoo. I've been talking for a long time. But self-awareness, right? If you have that without self-compassion, you're probably just very negative. You're probably a ball of anxiety all the time. You probably have some depressing thoughts, some depressive moods, you know. But if you have self-compassion without self-awareness, this is why you need both. If you have self-compassion only, then those are the people that are super indulgent, right? You might have a substance abuse problem, like me sometimes, you know. You might have, I'm not trying to be like on my soapbox, truly. You might be someone, you know, that this body positivity thing, it's not okay to be 600 pounds. You know, I'm fearful for your life. You know, we should be able to say that. But don't you dare have one without the other. You know, we need self-awareness and self-compassion together. You know, real quick, come up with a signature smell. That really helps. I get kind of stinky sometimes. I got like mad anxiety. My fight or flight system is fucked, okay? But they make these like underarm detox bars. I got mine on Amazon. It was like under 10 bucks. Not sponsored again. I don't even remember the brand. It was like $7-ish. But it works. They're like acidified bars for if you do have like BO like me. Because again, it's not our fault. Our fight or flight system is just always constantly pumping, like misfiring adrenaline and cortisol essentially, which makes our sweat stinkier, and it can smell better or worse with like hormonal fluctuations. I'm just keeping it real over here. I've also learned that it can just smell on one side or the other, which is weird, but that detox bar, it gets me fresh every single time. And again, no brands, I'm not trying to sell anything. It's just I have leveled up this last year, kind of for my own survival. Like no one's gonna wanna, you know, do this with me if I am stinky or whatever, but I be stinking sometimes. You know what I mean? So come up with a signature scent. You know, I've been wearing the same perfume for the last almost decade now. I just keep going with it. There's those detox bars. Quit breathing out of your mouth. Close your mouth if you're just standing there. I'm just gonna weasel this in with love, with love, with love. Someone had to tell me this when I was like 18, no one in my family, because they all do that. Stand there with your mouth open. What are you, a human fly trap? You know what I mean? I say that with love. Don't come at me. But just like, and by closing your mouth, especially when you sleep, some people tape their mouth shut when they sleep, and it literally changes your face shape. Look into that if you haven't. But just like these little tips of just like, you can, come on, glow up. But yeah, if all of us were more self-aware, there wouldn't be a need for so much like moral policing, or some of us coming across rude, trying to let people know this stuff. It's just like, hey, someone else had to tell me. Usually it was people on YouTube, so I'm kind of trying to like compile this all for you guys that I've learned. But just, yeah, just wrapping it up, for real, sorry. Know that everyone is overcompensating, but don't let this be you, you know? So you made a good impression, sorry, trying to get through the notes quick now. I'm stressing because I just caught a glimpse of the time. We're okay, nothing has to change in this moment. Everyone who wants to be here is still here. They like to hear me talk because they came to my channel. You know, people are like talking shit about my rambles, and I'm like, yo, if you don't like my rambles, my channel's probably not for you, because reality check, what is it, newsflash, what do they say, what do the normal people say? But yeah, this is the one place in the whole world that I have for my rambles, so forgive me while I utilize it up yours, you know what I mean? But anywho, going about the notes at a reasonable pace. Don't let that be you who's overcompensating, you know? Like, okay, so you made a good impression, right? Cool, but that person probably forgot all about it by now, at least. Like, but you're going to sleep in debt every night for making that good impression. You know, it's okay to have nice things for you that are paid off, just don't flaunt them. You know, like the big Coach logos, the big Gucci logos, the big Louis Vuitton. You know, that's saying, look at me. It is. It ain't even saying like I live comfortably. Hot take. It's saying like, look at me. So like, I have some little things here and there, but they're very low key. And when I find out other people are like that, it is so attractive to me. I don't know. But yeah, people oftentimes, next and final point, yeah. People oftentimes do a lot for others, but it's specifically for their image. So like they might be kind to you, they might help you, but a lot of the time you have to be careful because it might not be so much to do with care for you or wanting to help you as like what you make them feel. You make them feel powerful, you make them feel like the hero, right? So it's for their image, like, or people overcompensate, like cooking, baking, you know, like really you just have to follow a recipe and not fuck it up, essentially. But like people are like, you know, I'm God's gift because I can make X, Y, and Z. I'm even guilty of that sometimes, trying to be like useful in relationships. When I have a crush on someone, I just want to like cook for them and bake for them, but I have to like resist that urge sometimes. You know, I have to be aware that like I am a woman and I do have that, like I have been existing very masculinely the last couple years, but I still have a huge feminine piece of me that's never gonna go away, and it's always to nurture. But especially women, like we have to be so careful not to give that to the wrong people. Like we give people compassion, like especially men, we give them a lot of compassion even for the way that they treat us. We justify it because we want to have compassion, we want to nurture them, we want to just get them to realize where their pain comes from and help them heal, right? We're healers, we want that for them, but not all of them are going to appreciate that, and some of them are just gonna, they want to conquer that, they want to destroy that innocence because it gives them a sense of power. And it's, I don't like saying that, but it's just the truth sometimes. Trauma survivors, be careful of falling into that trap of desperately trying to make yourself useful. You know, overcompensation is not worth it because we are in a world full of entitled and unappreciative people. You know, don't spread yourself too thin. You are the only one usually who suffers if you spread yourself too thin. You're the one just dead in bed, right? Because you just can't move and your brain's fried, but maybe that person's expecting you to be at this thing or be at that thing, or even just having a conversation with people in your house can be really hard when you're in burnout. You know, so don't spread yourself too thin. One final tip, sorry, I know I said that. Final tip B, as you go out the door, quit showing your emotions too much, right? What's too much? I'm gonna make a video on that next. But yeah, stay safe and take care of yourself. Lots of love. See you guys.